Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Lankford, and I'm an executive director here at Gordon Marketing over the simplified issue products, as we kind of like to lovingly describe them. My first exhortation to you is that I have plans for you. You know, I have plans to prosper you. I have plans never to harm you. My plans for you include giving you a future and a hope. You know, I do everything I can to live with that mantra, if we want to call it that, every day of my life. All you have to do is go to Jeremiah chapter 29:11 and know that somebody else bigger than you and I wants you to succeed. And we do that in many different ways. On every Tuesday at 11 a.m., you can set your clock and your calendar by knowing that you can connect to a webinar that'll talk about everything we do on the simplified issue side of the business, whether that is going to be mortgage protection, whether it's going to be a final expense, a single premium whole life, IUL business like we're going to have a week from today, or annuities that we are featuring today. And I count it an honor to be able to introduce you to one of the shaker and movers for Gordon Marketing. I have anyone who meets Christy Sparks, and I say this as a happily married man, but anyone who meets Christy Sparks will fall immediately in love with her. Her spirit and her attitude, oh, I wish we could just bottle that, and that would be, each one of us could become millionaires overnight, because you'll not only hear, and you know I mean this from my heart, Christy, you're hearing her giggle in the background, but the enthusiasm and the spirit that I first met Christy, I knew she was going to be just incredible as an agent when I hired her many years ago. That's what, now 4 or 5, I want to say at least, and it's just been phenomenal to watch the growth and to watch Christy just help now hundreds of agents across the nation in the annuity business. And I want you to really try to put off all other distractions, anything that you have that will take you away. Try not to get up other screens. Don't do your emails. Really focus in the next, even if it's just 15 minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes if you have questions for Christy, but she speaks to you as what's near and dear to my heart, not only as somebody who can say, hey, these are the things you should be doing, but she's putting it into practice. Christy is also an active agent and somebody who is walking the talk. So she's not only telling you what you need to do to really safeguard your clients' monies, she's actually doing it. And so that garners so much respect from me. Christy, I appreciate you being on this call. And we didn't get to go to the puppies, but I just saw your girls. Introduce you to a wonderful group of agents on our call now. Take it away, please. Share with them how that they can safeguard their clients' monies and what we call an annuity.
Okay, so no pressure there at all. Thanks,
None.
Tim. I'm like, okay, if I can live up to that. No, welcome to the best 20 minutes of your day. Are you ready? Okay. All right, so Tim was just giving you some background on me. I'll go ahead and give you just a little bit more. I actually not only am an agent and still am in the field as well as what I'm doing, I also specifically did mortgage protection. So I worked with Tim. Tim was my mentor, and he trained me, went out on my first 8 to 10 appointments actually with me back then, and I learned a lot from him. So he's been a mentor in this whole industry, if you will, for me, and also just a friend. So I appreciate the opportunity to get on and say a few things. I will say that when I was doing mortgage protection, I had a lot of success at it, and I enjoyed it, and I definitely found opportunities to sell annuities. So I didn't mean to rhyme, but I did. So I'm going to go through some things, not only from just a basic annuity perspective, but I may plug some stuff into what you do when you're in your appointments. So we'll get started. So really, when you're looking at annuities, much of the time these days what we're selling is income, lifetime income, right? income that you can't outlive, no matter how long you go, no matter how depleted your funds become. We're really selling peace of mind and, you know, that chance for people to feel like they can put their head on their pillow at night and know that they're not going to run out of income no matter how long they live. And that's become the #1 fear in America, right? It used to be public speaking, then it was fear of dying, now it's fear of living too long. All right, I'm going to see if I can actually make this thing work. There we go. Okay, so who are your clients? I know you guys, many of you who are listening, I guess may not all be doing mortgage protection, some may be doing final expense. But typically, individuals or couples between the ages of 50 and 70 are going to be a lot of the folks that kind of hit this niche when it comes to lifetime income. When you get to individuals or couples younger than 50, much of the time they're not thinking that far ahead. They should be, but they may not be. So you've got people that are going to fit, you know, your 50 to 70 range, which is in many ways your sweet spot. And then you've got couples and individuals over 70, which there are still many, many products available to those folks. And then you've got your individuals and couples younger than 50. So there's your whole age bracket. Just so that you do know, annuities are something that can be attached to a life as young as, you know, 5 years old, 10 years old. There are annuities that that can be on children all the way up to 90-year-olds. However, an annuity is a retirement vehicle. And the minute that your money goes into a retirement vehicle, an annuity, it is subject to the rules and guidelines of retirement money. What that means is I want you to kind of put a couple dates down on your papers if you're taking notes, and forgive me for not having this on my slides. If you are 59 and a half, you can access any retirement money without a penalty. But prior to the age of 59 and a half, if you were to access money that's qualified, pre-taxed, aka retirement money, you will get a 10% penalty from the government. So it is not always in the best interest of someone or client to put money into an annuity in the name of someone significantly younger. That's going to be a different, you know, type of scenario. So lots of times people forget that. So for you guys, your real niche, your real sweet spot is you're sitting down with folks in the home and you're discussing mortgage protection. You're talking about all the things that you need to do to protect the needs of the people sitting around that table, the folks that live in that home, from being out on the street or loss of income. And what you're going to do is ask a little bit more, go a little deeper, and uncover whether or not retirement income or lifetime income is a concern for those folks. So the way you're going to do that is by asking a few more questions. Forgive me, I have to take a drink. So as you're sitting there, your main objective is to take care of the need that they want you to take care of. If you are following up on a mortgage protection lead, then you are going to, first and foremost, sit down and address the mortgage protection. That's why you're there. If you're following up on a final expense lead, then you're going to first and foremost take care of their final expense. That's why you're there. However, you'd be doing them a huge injustice to not at least address or let them know that there are some other areas that they may not even be aware of that they should maybe get some more information on. So you're not selling them anything necessarily as you sit there, but you are going over a little bit more information or asking some more questions. So I would take a second and jot these down, asking the right questions. Have you been planning for your retirement? What do you think you've done well to plan for retirement? What do you think you've done poorly to plan for retirement? What areas are you most concerned about? That might be something you even dig a little deeper and say, you know, are you concerned most about preserving what you have till you're past? Are you concerned about, you know, taking care of your children when you're gone? Are you concerned about maybe having to go into a nursing home facility, how you're going to be able to afford that? I mean, what are the things you're really kind of rumbling around in your head? If I can show you some solutions that are, to these areas of concern, and a few I think you may have overlooked, would you want to go over those? So as you're discussing some of these key things, what you're doing is just like in a mortgage protection appointment, right? You're kind of trying to find the pain. So you're asking questions and poking and prodding a little bit to see if you can get an ouch. And if you get an ouch, then you know that's something that maybe you need to address. So for example, when I did mortgage protection, much of the time in my conversation with these folks, I would come in, you shake their hand, you start talking about things in life, you notice pictures of their kids, their grandkids, you start discussing all of the things going on in their lives. You find out, hey, how long have you worked where you're at? Do you love what you do? You're asking questions about that. You're finding out if they have worked someplace else prior to their current job, which could lead you to an old 401k sitting out there, right? So I would say the number one sale that I did with annuities when I did mortgage protection was 401k rollovers, because those were funds just sitting there in an old 401k for an old employer. They're completely accessible to be rolled into something else. They're no longer with the employer, so most of the time they're happy to get them away from that person, or that employer, I should say, entity. And it's a very simple and almost seamless move. And all you're going to do is say, hey, we can shift this over here and get you a bonus right up front. And if you want to tag on some income, then we can look at that too. But you're basically saying, hey, if I could show you something, where you could take your old 401k and get it, away from your old employer, still protect it, because right now it's not protected, put it someplace where you'll never lose money, and we could even maybe see about a bonus up front. Would that be something that would interest you? Because I can leave you some info, and when I come back and deliver your policy, we can go over it. And 9 out of 10 times, people said, oh yeah, okay, sure. So I would say, out of every 10 appointments, if you ask these questions, you're going to uncover at least one annuity opportunity. And I can honestly tell you, I was probably closer to 3 out of 10. And just by asking these questions. Now, did all 3 of those end in sales? Not necessarily, but if one of those ended in a sale, then it was well worth my time asking those few questions. So those are some things to ask. So be talking about their current employers, find out if they've maybe worked someplace else, discuss with them if anyone has sat down and talked with them about retirement. Most of the folks with mortgage protection are kind of our middle America people, right? Middle income, kids, house, job, student loans. Sadly, I can relate to that. And nobody is talking to them about their retirement income. They can't necessarily afford to go out and see a professional, and even if they could at this point, they're not real sure which direction they should go. So to have somebody come and sit in their home, protect their mortgage, care about their family, build that trust, it's amazing the other doors that you are opening if you just ask a few more questions. Let them know what else you do. All right, I'm going to keep on moving. All right, so fact finder. So paint the picture, GordonMarketing.com, and life tools or annuity tools. Okay, so you're going to have to just know right up front here that this whole presentation was put together for something different, so some of this I'm going to skip over. But basically painting the picture like what I just described, being able to ask them, hey, have you lost money in the market, or are you concerned about the fact that this is sitting at your old employer and you don't really work for them anymore and they're managing it and probably aren't taking great care of it. Painting the picture, for lifetime income, talking about, have you given any thought to the fact that someday you might be facing a nursing home, or do you have family that's going to plan on taking care of you? How are they going to take on that extra financial stress if you move in with them? Really asking some of those questions. And I would say some of those retirement income questions I just now said would be more for your folks, I don't know, 60, 65 to 70, 75. And some of the, old employer 401k kind of topics to hit on is more like you're up to 65 and you're 40-year-olds, okay? So that kind of gives you an idea when you sit down and you're assessing kind of who you're talking to. There are a lot of tools on GordonMarketing.com. I would say you guys need to just make sure that you stay in tune with what Tim is doing and where he's directing you, because there can be so much information that it's the opposite of helpful. So that being said, There are fact finders that you can get a hold of, and you probably already use one. If the questions that I just put up on the screen a few minutes ago are not a part of your procedure or your process, I would encourage you to add them, plug them in your fact finder, throw those in where you feel like it's a good fit, or just casually ask those questions in conversation and then later hit on those and say, hey, yeah, I might have some information that could help in those areas that we were talking about earlier. The other, you know, you guys do a lot of life insurance. Annuities are something that is a whole different animal in many respects. But what's really interesting, I guess, is you guys are used to simplified issue, right? Not a lot of health underwriting. You just go through and answer the questions. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. Annuities, unbeknownst to many people, are actually that simple in many respects. Their applications are significantly longer, but that is primarily because there's a million disclaimers, because you're talking about retirement income, lots of times qualified funds. But the actual amount of paperwork you're filling out, the actual amount of underwriting is very similar. There are 0 health questions because this has nothing to do with their health at all. The main concern for annuity carriers is actually their financial stability. But when you're talking about a 401k rollover, for example, most of the time those are not a huge annuity. We're talking 30, 40, 50, maybe 60, 75,000. So that's not a huge amount to have to move. But if you're shifting something like that, then most of the time, you know, if your folks are under 59.5, because remember 59.5 is that key date at which they can access the money without a penalty. If people are under that and they're moving a 401k, carriers understand that these people can't access this money without a penalty. So we're not tying up money that they need access to live off of. We're really just reallocating or shifting, if you will, the current location of that money. So that just kind of gives you an idea of, you know, some of the simplified type of procedures on the back end. There is a 4-hour annuity training that is required in almost every state. It's a CE class, so you can get CE credit for it, 4 hours worth. And it is really, you know, annuities 101, if you will. And you have to show that you've taken that class before you can write an annuity, because the carriers want to see that you've educated yourself on that. The states want to see that. The other thing that happens is with each product, there is what's called product training. So the carrier is what requires that. So the state and your Department of Insurance requires you do the 4-hour annuity CE. Check 1. The carrier requires that you do their product training for that product you want to sell. Check 2. And then, of course, there's contracting and the application itself. So there's kind of your step-by-step of what needs to happen in order so that you can be prepared to write an annuity should you come across one. But most importantly, just like with your mortgage protection and your final expense, you're not going to write a ton of different products. You are really going to find that you kind of sink in with a specific niche, and you'll have 1, maybe 2 carriers at the most that you are your go-to carriers, because you're going to run into the same type of people, you know, most of the time, and they're going to have about the same needs, and the product they need is going to look the same, be the same, act the same, behave the same. So I'm not sure what you guys are doing specifically. You know, I can get with him, and I'm sure he can get with you guys on what products specifically you guys are looking at, what carriers. But there are a lot of really great options out there right now, and the cool thing about annuities is they're getting very innovative, and so they're coming out with, you know, better products. My gosh, like 4 weeks ago, a brand new product came out, and it's going crazy right now. I don't know how many illustrations I've run. In fact, I wrote one on Friday for $400,000 myself. I'm filling out the paperwork as we speak. Well, not me right now. Right before I started this. At any rate, so my point is, you know, we've got that came out 4 weeks ago. We've got another carrier bringing something out. I just got a meeting invite today that it rolls out tomorrow. The great thing for you guys is this. It is my job to look at that carrier and get on that webinar and find out what's new and figure out what stinks and how the rates changed and get rid of that and all of that. That is my job. So that you guys can do what you need to do. And that is you go out and you sell and you work with people, you uncover opportunities, and then you call in and say, help, I just sat down with this person and they have this much money and they want to do this with it and I don't know what to do next. And then I just say, okay, cool, how old are they? How much is it again? Where is it at right now? All right, cool, well then let me look at all these carriers and I'm going to pluck out the one I know is the best and I'm going to set you up to succeed. That means product training link. That means make sure your 4-hour annuity CE is done. That means make sure you're comfortable presenting it to the client. That means getting you the brochures. It means all of that stuff. So that gives you an idea of kind of, you know, how easy we can make this or how streamlined we can make this. The other thing that I would suggest, this is something that I used in every appointment, and granted, this is actually outdated. They update this every single year. And this particular flyer, if you will, or marketing piece is from American Equity. You can see that down here on the bottom right. As I just said, I used this in every appointment. I did not sell American Equity in every appointment. But this visual is simple and incredibly impactful when you're trying to explain to someone the dangers of the market. Because what an annuity really does is sorry, I keep having these doggone things pop up. They won't go away. An annuity protects their money from the market loss. An annuity keeps it safe. It gives them control over it. And it ensures that they're not going to lose. So if you look at this, this is just an awesome example. And these are actual years. You can see across the bottom. And every year they update this, so there is an updated one. And these are actual amounts. This is an actual annuity, live, living, breathing at this carrier. And you can see just the minimum guaranteed contract value is the blue line. The best way I can describe that is if you had your money in a CD where you're making next to nothing, this is basically what the guarantee is. So if your money was in a CD, it would look like that. If you had your money in the market, it would look like that. And if you put your money in this vehicle, it would look like this. Now, if you look right in here, in this area right here in 2000, you can see that this annuity did not outperform the market. Some people might look at that and say, well, that stinks. You know, that year I only got to 125,000 and I could have had 136,000, almost 137. So that stinks, right? Okay, that's great, sure. No, why is it you only get 125 here, and here you get 136? Because if they promise you, you're never going to go below zero, because if you look, every year it went down, what did you do? Leveled off. It went up a little, you went up a little. You leveled off right here, leveled off, leveled off. You didn't lose. Every time this dropped, you stayed level. Now, if they're going to promise you that they're never going to let you fall, they're going to keep you right where you're at or better, then they have to give you some kind of a ceiling, or they're just nuts. They're going to lose money. They can't sustain a product like this. So they give you a ceiling, if you will, because they also promise you a floor. They give you a whole house. How sweet. The market, on the other hand, says you can go as high as you want, and then you're going to drop as low as it goes. And at the end of a period of years, you can see right here the difference in just that slow and steady, right? So I guess you could kind of think like, this is the turtle, this is the hare. Wow, I hadn't thought about that before, but that actually makes sense. So there you go. For people who like animals, feel free to use that analogy. Anyway, so as you can see, just looking at this, this is a really simple, easy thing to explain. In fact, some of you might be looking at this going, oh, well, this suddenly makes sense to me, and it didn't before. This is an annuity. This is the beauty of an annuity, compounding interest, giving you a safety floor. They always say zero is your hero, which means you're never going to go below zero. And they're right. And then you get to continue to just steadily gain. Now, as you can also see, this happened over a period of years, right? And so the beauty of an annuity is the time it gets to marinate, if you will, like a good steak, right? The longer it marinates, the better the overall outcome is. So an annuity is not a short-term product. An annuity is not something that you build for a year, 2 years. If you want something crazy like that, go get a CD and make nothing, right? Because you'll make nothing on an annuity usually in a couple of years too, because there's just not enough time for it to really do and use the power that it's built for. So that being said, you're offering your clients an opportunity to completely protect from market loss. You're offering them an opportunity to just kind of put their money somewhere and forget about it to a degree and let it do its job. And you're giving them an opportunity to grow it. So that is just kind of your quick and dirty. That sounds terrible, but kind of your quick and dirty something. Oh, that's me right there. It's actually kind of an old picture. My hair's a little blonder now. I got a little purple under here. Actually, the purple was still there. You just couldn't see it. At any rate, okay, well, that's me. That's my email address right there, should you need me, and my extension 374, should you need me. You also, depending on how you all are set up, everybody is different, and so if you're direct to Tim or another marketer or however that pans out, feel free to go ahead and catch me. But I may be helping you redirect or whatever to make sure that we don't knock people out. All right, all that being said, Tim, are you still there?
Actually, this is Jim Meixner. Tim had a conference call that he had to be on, and so I'm filling in for him for the tail end of this webinar.
Wow, I am so insulted. I am going to give him an earful. Not really. Okay, so he said something about being able to ask questions, and it looks like I have a question. But I think, did somebody answer it? Please send a comment. Yeah, that may not even be anything relevant to me at all.
Yeah, if there's any outstanding questions, I'm actually going to answer them after the webinar, and so all your questions are going to be answered directly. This webinar will, as all of the others, be recorded, so in about a week you can review this. But if you do have any questions, please call Tim Lankford or myself, or even call Christy directly, and we'll get the answers for you.
Absolutely. Yep, no problem. Well, thanks, guys, for your time. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day, even though I know it can't get any better than the last 25 minutes. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much, Christy.
No problem. Thanks, Jim. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, I hope that presentation from Christy was beneficial. I know it was taking baby steps from the ground up and proceeding. So there are, as Christy was saying, a lot of different annuity products out there, different carriers. They all work very similarly, but it's designed as a retirement vehicle typically. People don't want to have any risk to their retirement assets and don't want to lose money to market risk and fluctuations. So annuities fill a very important role for people's retirement needs. So if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to call Tim or call myself. Or email us. We're always available for anybody here. So next Tuesday, let me start with Friday. We're going to have our normal Friday 11 a.m. webinar. We're going to be featuring an agent that makes it happen, Danielle. She happens to be a mother of 2 children, and she has been a top performer for a long time here now, and so we want to have you sit in on the webinar and hear how she does it, raising 2 children. Following next Tuesday, a week from today, we're going to have Alec Hawk from North American on the webinar. He's going to be talking about IULs, indexed universal life products, and how that can play a big role in asset preservation, in growth and accumulation. So that's just like the webinar today on annuities, is something you don't want to miss. So good information. I am then going to take a look at the questions that anybody has, and I'll answer those offline. But if you have any questions, please email Tim Lankford, or excuse me, tim@gordonmarketing.com, or myself, jim@gordonmarketing.com, and we'll get things taken care of for you. But in the meantime, thank you so much for sitting in on the webinar, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you on Friday. With that, good selling. Have a good rest of the day. Thank you.